Good morning, GTO sir. The topic of my lecture is the Cuban Missile Crisis. I had divided my topic into three parts: the Russia-USA relations, or the USSR-Russia relations, or the background of the event, and the actual Cuban Missile Crisis. So my lecture starts like this. Recently, we must have heard in our news about the Russia-Ukraine crisis. In that, one thought would have struck in our mind regarding the Third World War, or the happening, or the possibilities of the Third World War. And we would have thought that this is the first time in the history after the Second World War that such type of situation has arisen, that the Third World War can take place in the coming future. But it's not so. Once in the history, such type of situation was formed. A similar situation was formed between the two global world powers, the USSR and the USA. It took place back in 1962. We after the Second World War, both the nations, the USSR and the USA, got involved in the Cold War. There was a heavy race of armaments, heavy race of development in the field of defense, science and technology, and any other area in which both the countries raced to get the first position, or the getting the excellence in that field. And so in that race of armament, in that Cold War, both the countries developed their missile system, developed their defense, and such tensions were arising between both the countries. There were the race in the armaments and the importing of defense mechanisms, the missile system, drone system, heavy technical items were being imported or being created by these countries. And also, when we talk about the Cold War, the very much the consequences of the Cold War was the threat to the sovereignty of both the countries. And it was a time of amid the peak of the Cold War that USSR started deploying its missile systems in Cuba. Cuba was a territory which was a neighboring territory to USA, and USSR started deploying its missile system in Cuba, as told by as told by the USSR President Khrushchev, that it was an attempt for the improvement in the defense of the USSR. But as to the US President, it felt like it was a threat to their sovereignty, and they thought that the presence of the USSR missiles in the Cuba would actually lead to the threat to their borders, and actually the defeat of USA in any war between both the countries. And so the USA took it as seriously, and in the speech of John F. Kennedy, they said that any single threat to their country will result in a very big reply by the country to the its opponent. So as a result, the tension started arising, and USA also started infiltrating and mobilizing its defense and missile system to the neighboring coastline, and the tensions were arising. And one day, historically it is known as Black Saturday. During the morning, a USA plane was destroyed by the defense system of USSR, and amid this, serious tension took place, and the firings were happening from both the sides, and both the sides suffered loss, and the fires were not seen was not seen to stop. But ultimately, both the leaders started talking the delegates level, and both the country decided, seeing the consequences of the nuclear uh, war, that this war should end it, and they peacefully ended the war, and by but applying the terms and conditions and also many agreements. The USSR agreed to remove all the defense missiles and all the systems regarding their which USA felt that it was a threat. And fortunately, the USSR moved all its missile system from there, and in the response, the USA also removed all its systems from the Turkey, and both the countries started to agree on both the terms and conditions forward by both the countries. And later on, the situation was normal, and the Cuba got their independence after a few years of time. And later on, the relation between the two countries was developed from being the relations in better to considerably fair relations. And that's all from my lecture. Thank you.